A lovely good morning. It's yet another interesting Wednesday morning. We are back on your screens with the Camnet Breakfast Show, Governance, Policy and Politics. I'm not alone in the studio. My name is Patrick Soko and my co-host of the day is Marco Kwakozi. Morning.
Good morning, Patrick. Morning, viewers. Thank you very much for joining us for this particular program. It's the Wednesday edition of the Camnet Breakfast. And as Patrick says, it's governance, politics, and everything else. And this morning, we are going to be looking at various topics that are making the headline, various news stories that are making the headlines in the news this particular morning. Patrick.
Yeah, interesting. Talking about stories making the headlines, some of the stories we'll be looking at are stories pertaining to the courts where Madam Charlotte Katanga, the former Inspector General of Police, was appearing. The leader of the opposition in Parliament, Ban Montubile, talking about the issue pertaining to soybeans. We also have stories pertaining to the Director of Finance at the Ministry at the Auditor General's office testifying in a case where the former Secretary to the Cabinet, Fredson Yamba, was involved. These and many other stories we'll be looking at. And later on the program, we'll be joined by our guest who is going to help us discuss various topical issues happening in the country as they continue to give alternatives to the UPND administration as requested by President Hakainde Hichilema. And this morning, let's get straight to our first segment, which we call the Health Corner with Dr. Mufaya, where let's see what she has prepared for us as we get acquainted with various health matters. Good morning.
Hi, good morning and welcome to the Health Corner here on the Breakfast Show. I am Dr. Nakubiana Mfaya. So this week we are talking about tuberculosis, and we have highlighted what is tuberculosis, and we've said that tuberculosis is an infection that results from being infected by the bacteria, Mycobacterium tuberculosis. And this infection can be transmitted from person to person through aerosols that are released in the air, and the other person inhales those aerosols that are infected, and so they end up having the infection as well. We also say that the risk factors include people who have HIV, people who have diabetes, people who are smokers, alcohol takers, and also people who abuse drugs. Then people who are also staying with somebody who has TB, especially if it's a multi-drug resistant TB, are also at risk of having this TB infection. So today I want to understand what are some of the signs and symptoms. How can you tell that you have diabetes or you are having tuberculosis, So what are some of the signs and symptoms of tuberculosis? So one of the signs is that people with tuberculosis will present with a cough. They might have a cough that is not going away, and sometimes it might even, usually it goes for about 2 or more weeks. So you might be having a cough for 2 or more weeks, and this cough might be associated with chest pain. They might also have fever as well, and they would usually have night sweats. So usually in the night they would sweat so much such that they would be very wet in the night. So if you find somebody who is sweating so much at night, they are coughing, they are having a fever, then you might be suspecting that they have TB. Other symptoms that are very common in people who have TB is that they would have weight loss. So they would present with weight loss where they are not, where they're losing weight, and also they might have fatigue as well. So they will be feeling very tired and just generally not feeling too well. Then also, depending on which part of the body is affected, TB can present in so many other ways because it affects so many other parts of the body. So for example, if people who have meningitis or TB meningitis where it has affected the brain, they might present with a headache. So they might be having this headache that is not going away and it's just there for some time, and also have these other classic symptoms that we have talked about. They might also have seizures or a coma, confusion, because it's affecting their brain. Then also people who have tuberculosis that has affected their kidneys, they might present with issues to do with the urinary system. So they might be having pain when urinating, they might not be urinating well, they might be having pain in the back because the kidneys are located somewhere in the back. So they would have some kind of pain in the back, abdominal pain. So depending on which body is affected, which part is affected, again, the people would present differently. So if it's the skin, they would have skin lesions. So they would have some kind of skin lesions, whether they're just some nodules in the skin that can be seen and palpated. They might also have other lesions. If it's in the lymph nodes that are affected, they might have lesions in the lymph nodes that can be palpable and seen as well. So these are some of the symptoms that people with TB can present with. If TB has affected the spine or the back, they would have back pain. So they might have some kind of a back pain that is not going away. So these are some of the symptoms that you can look out for people with TB or people that will be suspecting to have TB. And if you suspect anyone to have TB, don't hesitate to take them to the hospital as soon as possible to seek treatment early and to be able to prevent other people from getting this condition or this infection as well. So today we're talking about the signs and symptoms of TB, and we say that some of the classic signs or the signs that really show that someone has TB is that they would have a cough, they would have they would be having a fever, they would have chest pain as well. And then also they might have night sweats, they would have weight loss because they might not be eating too well and just having a poor appetite. Then they might also experience other symptoms depending on the part of the body that is affected. So they would have urinary symptoms where they're having pain when urinating, abdominal pain. They might have back pain if it has affected the spine. They might have confusion, seizures, and even a headache if it has affected the brain or the meninges. So if you know anyone with TB, make sure you can take them to the hospital as quickly as possible. If you have missed any other episodes that we talk about here on the Health Corner, make sure you also watch my YouTube channel, which is Dr. Nakubena Mfaya. And don't forget to subscribe to my channel on YouTube. And if you have any questions, you can reach out to me on my Facebook page, which is Dr. Nakubena Mfaya. Thank you for watching, and I will see you again next time. Stay healthy and stay blessed.
Thank you for staying with us. You are still watching the Camnet Breakfast Show. We were looking at the Health Corner there with Dr. Mufaya. Interesting topic pertaining to TB. I think I hope you managed to get one or two things there on that elaborate topic, because TB is quite a common and deadly disease in Zambia, though we haven't been paying much attention as a country to this disease compared to HIV and other diseases that have received quite a good attention from the government and the cooperating partners. But when we talk about TB, it is hardly talked about. But this is a deadly disease that is affecting us in various communities. So the doctor did give us some of the symptoms and signs that you can look out if someone has TB, and you can equally advise them to go to the nearest health center to seek medication. TB, in as much as it is deadly in Zambia, it is also curable. That's the good part about it. So we need to make sure that we do what we call early diagnosis, because it makes it easier for treatment. So I hope you did manage to get to understand what the doctor was talking about there. Mr. Makoka, any perspective on that? Cause
yeah, it's good to know, firstly, that TB affects various parts of the body. The doctor said it affects the skin, it affects the brain, it affects the spine. So, as you have put it, the best thing is early diagnosis, and then you go into treatment. It is curable, as you put it. So, I hope that we have listened to that particular advice from the doctor, and if you are experiencing any of the symptoms that the doctor has spoken about this morning, be sure to take a step by going to the hospital and just try to find out why you're feeling the way you're feeling. It could be that particular condition, and if diagnosed early, it's easier to treat. Patrick, as you put it, not too much attention.
Yeah, not too much. Yeah, not too much
to TB. So I think it is important that as a country we begin to take it serious.
Yeah, if you look at even us as the media, it's rare that we cover stories pertaining to TB, but you would see stories on other diseases. But when it comes to TB, it's a rare topic. But we understand this disease has been prevailing in the country for a long time. But, you know, the attention it receives is not that equivalent, you know, to other diseases. These are among, it is also actually among those diseases that are not paid attention to, and the Ministry of Health, in cooperation with other stakeholders, they are working to reduce that gap and making sure that that issue is addressed. Because I remember attending one of their meetings where they did emphasize, say, look, TB is with us, it is in the communities, it is affecting people, but sometimes, you know, TB is also a very wide disease, so it is also associated with myths. Just like other diseases like COVID-19, so it came with its own myths and misinformation. So, but people would say no. In the local languages, they have the way they call these diseases. They would say no. Chifua tosasira, something like that, or no. But people may not know that actually that is TB. So, but if when you go to the health center, they will tell you to say in TB and this TB in amangwara yake amene mufune kusebenza.
And usually TB is when in the community somebody has TB, they tend to discriminate. They tend to relate it to HIV and AIDS.
And if you talk about discrimination, yes, it is among the highly diseases that is associated with discrimination. You know, when someone, even on a bus, if you just go for about 5 minutes, people said everyone else will be looking at the windows. You know, at home, you see, we start isolating. You know, they give you your own cup, your own plate, your own spoon. Those were the common aspect of TB. Those days, I remember very well. Yeah, but now at least the disease and everything, it has been improved, so you don't. There's no need for that discrimination to say no, but fucking murumu, all those things, you know. But how do you take care of these people? You need to make them also feel comfortable, feel associatable, but you should also help them appreciate the disease, how it is, and how severe it is when they overcome it. When it reaches a certain stage, when you are on medication and you reach a certain stage, there are recommendations the doctors give to how to handle TB patients. But we will not know that if we are not taking that steps and getting interested to know more about this disease. So let's just understand how the kwacha is performing against other major convertibles. So now, $1 is buying at 19 kwacha 74 ngwe, and they're selling at 20 kwacha 13 ngwe. The euro is buying at 21 kwacha 07 ngwe and selling at 21 kwacha 48 ngwe. The Great British Pound is buying at 24 kwacha 48 ngwe and selling at 24 kwacha 96 ngwe. One South African rand is buying at 1 kwacha 02 ngwe and selling at 1 kwacha 04 ngwe. So those are your money markets. So let's look at the dollar against the kwacha. It is at 19.74 ngwe in terms of buying, and on a selling aspect, it has already hit the 20 mark the 20 kwacha mark there. So it tells you that the kwacha was at 17 some 2 weeks ago, and it has been jumping, it has been moving up. It shows you that the kwacha hasn't been performing well. It has been under severe pressure, and we just hope that the central bank as well as the Minister of Finance will continue to put in place measures to make sure that this currency is stabilized, because at the end of the day, everything that Zambia is doing hinges on its economic performance. So at the end of the day, we have to make sure that a strong currency is achieved, because if we have a strong currency, it translates into lower cost of production, lower cost of doing business, lower prices of commodities. It translates into so many benefits. I can only imagine if our kwacha was at 15 like it was sometime in October, and we had that reduction, that we had oil prices reducing on the international market. I could imagine what the cost of price would have been in Zambia, given that the Energy Regulation Board had to reduce the fuel pump price by about 3 kwacha, and that's not a small margin, given the international market detection. But now you could imagine if the kwacha was performing better, what story would have been having? I know that someone would have been very excited there. With a car owner, the youngest car owner last year there, you'd be excited. You'd say, no, now it's me. I'll make more movements because I have more fuel in my tank, because sometimes at the moment, the way it was, like, if you have 100 kwacha, you put in your tank, it's like you have not put anything. You understand? You cannot make adequate movements. So, but at least now this is better, and at least the motorists are happy that at least we have seen a better reduction. We have been seeing some reductions of 1 kwacha, 15 kwe, something like that, but it was better this time around. We just hope it will be maintained coming to the end of this month.
It would be nice, because from October, as we have observed, the kwacha has been fluctuating. It goes down, it goes up, it goes down. The most important thing, I think, is to try and look at measures that will help stabilize the kwacha against major convertibles. Maybe we are at 17 today. Let it be 17 for a longer period.
Yes.
Today is 17. 2 weeks from today,
it's
it
19.
will be 19.
To the other week, it is 22. So that's the fluctuating aspect we are talking about,
yes. So
which is not stable.
If we could try and put in measures that are going to try and stabilize the kwacha, and also look at that would help in the reduction of fuel, as you have put it, and also try to look at maybe, I know that there's nothing we can do about it, but it would help when you look at the price of crude on the international market also.
Yes, that
would help us have a stable price of fuel, I think.
So at the end of the day, I think those are things that we need to be focusing on as a country if we are ready to gain traction. But let's look at some of the stories we have. What are some of the stories we have and looking at this morning? We
do have quite a number of interesting stories that are making the headlines in the news this morning. And before we do that, remember that you can catch us on our Facebook page, which is Camnet TV. So you can just go to that particular page, like it, and go to the comment section. Leave your comments there about your thought about what we are discussing this particular morning, or it could be a contribution of what we are looking at this morning. We'll be more than happy to have a look at what you think, and also share that particular page with your neighbors, so that they share with their neighbors and they share with their neighbors. Stories making the headlines in the news this particular morning. The United Party for National Development, UPND Deputy Secretary General Gertrude Imenda says the management letter from the Auditor General's office seeking to know the whereabouts of 65 million kwacha that was recovered from Faith Musonda was prematurely released to the public, as it is part of ongoing audit investigations. In an interview, Ms. Imenda says the audit process is, however, routine and does not imply in any way that the money is indeed missing. but simply a query that relevant authorities needed to respond to for a conclusion to be made. She, however, states that the leaking of ongoing investigations at the Auditor General's office calls for serious investigations, as this implies confidential information.
So the management letter is just part of the audit process, part of the seeking information and clarification and examination of records and things like that. So they want that information so that they can now complete their audit report. Now for somebody, that management letter is confidential because the audit process has not completed. Now you leak that document, which means you are preempting the outcome of the audit report, because the whole idea of auditing is that the auditor at a certain point at the end of it will issue a report, will issue an audit opinion. And it starts like, we have examined the books of account, the records, and so on, and any other information, and the transactions. And in our opinion, this is our opinion. Now, that's when they will give a final opinion to say, well, in our opinion, maybe this, we have these concerns and things like that. But for me, the concern is the person who leaked that document, because it appears we have people whose loyalty is not with the current government, even though they are working in the government. Well, their loyalty is somewhere else.
Interesting story there coming from the UPND Deputy Secretary General, Gertrude Menda. One of the most interesting points from this particular story is that there are insiders that are leaking information.
Information, yes. Yeah, it's quite serious, and you can imagine. And where is the where is the safety of the institution there? If everything else will be reaching the public, and it gets to that issue of the cleanup. I know it's not easy to clean up a system when there was another administration, but it's not easy again.
There are civil servants that are not loyal to the current government.
Oh, I see. And those are things, I think those are issues they need to pay attention to. Yeah, because we'll continue. But anyway, for us, we'll continue to get wind of those information. And, in the absence of the access to information law, so even as the media relies on such leakages, this is what is happening here at this ministry or at this department of government or this agency. So we get to know more and what is happening. But however, we saw the Anti-Corruption Commission coming on board to clarify, and I said, no, I've not seen that money in my eyes and everything. That was the chairperson, Musa Mwenye. Yeah, so interesting issues there emerging there. This is in connection with the money that was handed over to the state by Faith Musonda. And so when people were querying, how was this money being utilized? Has it hit the coffers of the beneficiaries? Because I remember one of the pronouncements was that the president did say that they wanted to make sure that that money goes towards financing the education of some students at higher learning institutions such as the University of Zambia. But how has it served its purpose? So, it is that time now where people have to answer for these issues. We are going to also have interesting issues given that the Auditor General will be releasing their report under the UPND administration. So we are going to see what report will be, what it will be holding in terms of the queries. Is the UPND administration upholding its commitment to ensure that it runs a corrupt-free administration, or make sure that it stamps out corruption? These are questions that we will continuously be asking the governing United Party for National Development Administration. Now, there are quite interesting issues. We saw, it's interesting in Zambia, the Auditor General was also under investigation. Now, the auditor now is being audited and before, and there were a lot of transfers under the Ministry of Information as well. rather under the Office of the Auditor General's report, which the opposition claimed that this was tantamount to undermining the credibility of the Auditor General's report because the workers will be coming there. How are they going to execute their duties diligently if you are going to transfer most of the people? Though that was also a topical issue by then, and it was mostly perpetuated by the Patriotic Front. So if you look, these are issues emanating to the audit and the issues pertaining to the fight against corruption. These have been topical in our country, and we just hope that the UPND administration will get to the bottom of these matters. So you too, our dear viewers, in case you want to give us your perspective or join us on the program this morning, you can do so by leaving us that message on our socials, being our Facebook, where we are streaming live this breakfast show. You can equally give us your views and perspective on our YouTube channel. That's where we are actually also broadcasting live. Soon we'll also be going live on our TikTok channel, and soon you'll be getting in touch with us via our WhatsApp line. So in case you want to get in touch with us, you just send us that voice note, and if possible you can send us a video of less than a minute, or within a minute send us a video. We play it so that we can get interacting and discussing various pertinent national matters. Now let's also look at another interesting story. This is a story where it was coming from the courts, and it leads Economic and Financial Crimes Court resident Magistrate Davis Chiwili has set 14th July for ruling to determine whether or not a former Deputy Inspector General of Police Charity Katanga has a case to answer or not. This is in a case in which Mrs. Katanga is facing one count of possession of property suspected to be proceeds of crime. So let's get to listen to this story. We'll be back on the other side.
Magistrate Davis Chiwili has set July 14, 2023 as a day to rule on a case or no case to answer in a matter where former Deputy Inspector General of Police Charity Katanga pleaded not guilty to one count of possessing property reasonably suspected of being proceeds of crime. Meanwhile, Chief Investigation Officer Drug Enforcement Commission DEC has testified before the court that Katanga already bought 5 buses before she got her gratuities. Edwin Mwanza, 44, was testifying in a matter in which Katanga is facing one count of possessing property reasonably suspected of being proceeds of crime, contrary to Section 71(1) of the Forfeiture of the Proceeds of Crime Act No. 19 of 2010 of the laws of Zambia. He testified that Katanga bought 10 buses from Haiga Bus Company Limited, owned by Mr. Wu Ming, between 2017 and 2021. Mr. Mwanza says according to his findings, there was no single vehicle registered in Chiweka Express Limited but in the names of Katanga. He further told the court that Katanga bought each one of the buses at 203,000 United States dollars on condition of 50% down payment. Mr. Mwanza disclosed to the court that the summary of the total gratuity paid to Katanga for the period she was serving in various positions was 3,411,377 kwacha 28 ngwe. He says he interviewed Zambia police accountant in charge of salaries and revenue, who gave him the documents of salaries that were paid from January 2017 to December 2021. He further submits that it was at that point he started looking at the expenditures over the year against the known sources of income. Mr. Mwanza says in 2018, the total expenditure for the buses was 273,000 United States dollar against a salary of slightly above 342,000 kwacha. When translated into dollar, according to the exchange rate, it was translating into over 2.9 million kwacha. He says he then decided to arrest Katanga and charge her with an offense of possession of property suspected to be proceeds of crime. It is alleged that Charity Katanga, between January 1st, 2017 and June 6, 2022 in Lusaka, jointly and whilst acting together with other persons unknown, did possess 10 Haiga buses, altogether valued at 26,282,770 kwacha, property suspected to be proceeds of crime. Nelson Zulu for Camnet News, Lusaka.
There you have it. That's a story brought by Nelson Zulu from the courts there. Quite an interesting story, Makokwa. If you look at it, the figures, they are bringing out the figures, and the date has been set to determine whether there is a case or no case. That's 14th of July 2023. So we just, we just keep our fingers closed and continue monitoring and following the story and informing the public about what will be happening. As usual, we do bring you all the latest information from the courts, and I will continue to give you that. But in case you have views on the stories we have looked at so far, you can do so by engaging us and calling us on the line that you'll be seeing on your screen, so that we can get interacting. Quite an interesting story there.
Interesting indeed. One interesting thing about court stories is that if you are accused of anything, you are given an opportunity to try and clean yourself up, try and explain, to say, no, these vehicles, I got them using money from this side or money from here, because 203,000 United States dollars for a civil servant, that's a lot of money.
That's a lot of money
to buy a bus. So I think it is important that the former IG explains herself.
Yeah,
it gives an
opportunity to say, no, I have these businesses, I've been doing this, I have this, oh, my husband does this, my family has done this, so all those things. That's the beauty about when the issue goes to court. It gives you an opportunity to just clear your name and be able to say, okay, you were clean, you can go. Oh no, you were not clean, you have to remain. So those are the advantages of especially being taken to court, because you'll be exonerated if you committed a crime or not. You'll be given that opportunity, as opposed to a situation where when people are just accusing you to say you've stolen, that continues to affect you to say, but if I recall, I haven't stolen anything. But how do you justify that? You can't manage to justify before everyone, telling them to say, no, I haven't stolen, and start explaining your case. But that the way that when you go to the courts, it's an opportunity that you are given to make sure that you clear your name, you provide the necessary evidence. Those who are accusing you also provide their evidence to say, okay, is it sufficient enough to get you convicted? That is very important to look at. So, and we just hope that that case will be concluded soon, because the other sad thing about court cases, Cozy, is that they keep on dragging. They keep on dragging. There was a case we were looking at involving the former ZAF commander Shiviki Eric Chimese, is it? So. Mr. Chimese. So if you look at that case, it started in 2018 under the Patriotic Front administration. It is only last month that we were getting a closure on that case. Now you can imagine 2018, 19, 20, 21, 22, 5 years, a single case. How many cases are we going to adjudicate over? So if you look, those are things we need to be addressing. But we have the comfort that President Ichilema has said he wants to work with 90 days. Let's pick this call. Hello, good morning. You are through to the Breakfast Show. Good morning.
Good morning, thank you. My name is Malama. I'm calling you from
Luansha, Mr. Malama. You can go ahead with your contribution, sir.
Thank you very much. I want to contribute on the 5 million the so-called statistics on the money. What you saw was the ceremony where a check was being shown that was being compared to the Minister of Finance. Now, that check was for the 5 million. But then there's no check that is issued for that amount. An amount about 100,000 kwacha is into a transfer. So what is required is to show that that was touch. Okay? So the cash should have been deposited. If the cash is deposited, then you are given a receipt for the deposit. So that should be there. And then the money moves again from Minister of Finance to this kind of Zambia, the Minister of Higher Education.
Thank you very much for your perspective, sir. Interesting views there, talking about the paper trail of the movement of the resources. That's the story we zoomed in first.
Yes, and I think that he's right. There should be documentation to show that, firstly, the amount of money that was gotten from Faith is 65 million kwacha, and we do have this document that shows that we did go through that particular money from that ukwa bag or wherever the money was, and from that trunk. And when we counted, really, it was 65 million kwacha. From there, the money was pushed into this particular account.
Yes.
From this particular account, we were advised that the money should go to the bursaries of students. By then, I remember there were a lot of students that were left out of the bursaries, and so the money now should now show us the money being transferred to this particular ministry, from this particular ministry to this particular ministry, which is in charge of giving out bursaries to these students. And then from there, we should see a list of students that have benefited from that money to say, okay, so we had 348 students that wanted bursaries. So this is a list of the students, and we paid this amount towards the bursaries of these particular students. I think that is very important, and that you did bring in a very important topic earlier, a very important aspect earlier when you said we await the Auditor General's report. It will be very important.
It will be very important, and I know Park will have its field today, putting these people in check.
Yes.
Yeah, because in Zambia the levels of accountability are low in terms of the laws that support accountability. So most of all, the law that supports the most mechanism that we utilize is the Parliament Public Accounts Committee, and that's under the National Assembly. So when the committee are sitting, this is where we get to know more, even us as the media, because now we get that document for the Auditor General, and now try to compare the figures to say, you said you were building a school in Chifunawali.
Yes.
But where is the school? And this man is indicating that it was spent. This is where people get to explain themselves. And we saw, for example, pertaining to the COVID-19 pandemic, various people have been questioned by the Public Accounts Committee on how those resources have been spent. Given that there has been, like you were saying, lack of accountability, lack of proper documentation. So you just woke up and go with government money and go and procure masks. Do you do that? No. If a procedure has to be followed. So those things, I think, even I think I did a story the actual day when Musa Mwenya was saying that where this other gentleman was actually challenging this, to say, convincing people by word of mouth won't erase the suspicions. It won't, but you have to provide even us as the media, for example. If you tell us the students benefited 50 at UNZA, I think we should also have a chance to interview one of them who has benefited from that. You understand? But when there's that lack of transparency and accountability, these questions continue to arise. So let's look at two other stories. I will look at a story here and you also read out one. Let me just take a paragraph of this story where a director of finance at the Auditor General's office, Tamara Ngoma, 57, has testified that former Secretary to the Treasury, Fredson Yamba, and Foreign Affairs Minister, John Malanji, were not part of the procurement submission to buy a chancery in Turkey. So let's, you can also get to read us that story. We look at those two stories.
So my story says the new Congress Party President Peter Tsanda has officially written to the Road Development Agency, RDA, to explain how it awarded a contract for the construction of roads in New Kasama, including the road which passes through the community house without allegedly advertising the tender. Now, speaking when he toured the roads on Thursday, 6 May 2023, Mr. Tsanda is challenging the Road Development Agency, RDA, to disclose when an advert for the construction of the said road was issued and how much is being spent on the roads. Now, Mr. Tsanda has further questioned the Road Development Agency for authorizing the road works on a private property.
So let's look at those two stories. We'll be back on the other side.
Former worker at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Tamara Ngoma, 57, has testified that former Foreign Affairs Minister Joe Malanji and former Secretary to the Treasury, Fredson Yamba, were never part of a procurement submission to buy a chancery in Ankara, Turkey. Mrs. Ngoma, who worked at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs from 2018 to 2022, explains that she was supervising 40 missions at the time. In her testimony, she recalls that in early 2020, in one of the procurement meetings, a submission to buy a chancery in Turkey was made, citing where two external members, directors, head of procurement, legal counsel for the ministry, Lydia Matapo, among others, being present. She explains that the committee's proceedings were chaired by the then Permanent Secretary, Ronald Semwinga, as per the advice Counsel Lydia Matapo provided. Mrs. Ngoma, who is now Director of Finance at Auditor's General Office, says there was advice that the request be cleared by the Attorney General's chambers. She did not indicate whether there was a clearance or not, testifying before Magistrate Irene Wishimanga that after she returned from leave, she was informed that the Ministry of Finance financed funds for the procurement of a chancery in Turkey. She says a reverse of the said funds by the Ministry of Finance for procurement of property in Turkey was made to allow the mission to have space for their expenditures. Meanwhile, in cross-examination, Mrs. Ngoma explains that the duo, Yamba and Malanji, were nowhere at the Ministerial Procurement Committee. In this matter, Mr. Yamba is accused of having failed to follow procedure in relation to the buying of an estate in Turkey, and Malanji is accused of being in possession of a hotel and helicopters, property reasonably suspected to be proceeds of crime. Mr. Yamba is charged with 2 counts of willful failure to comply with the applicable law, while Malanji is charged with 8 counts of being in possession of property suspected to be proceeds of crime. Magistrate Irene Wishimanga has adjourned the matter to June 9th, 2023. Nelson Zulu for Camnet News, Lusaka.
Opposition New Congress Party President Peter Chanda has continued to ask questions over the newly constructed roads in part of Lusaka's Chalala area and in New Kasama near the community house. The area of Zambia's Republican President Hakainde Hichilema is experiencing a facelift, being the vicinity where the Republican President resides, given that he has opted to remain at his personal house at the expense of Nkwazi House, which is owned by the Zambian government. Mr. Chanda, who recently toured the roads, went back to the site where he addressed the press that he has written to the Road Development Agency, RDA, questioning the alleged failure to advertise the tender. This fence is part of the property belonging to a well-known businessman and former associate of the previous administration and is earmarked for demolition to pave way for the construction of the roads.
We have written to RDA to question them as to when the contract was advertised, who were the bidders, and who was singled out as a successful bidder, who is the main contractor, and who are the site engineers. At the same time, we asked the Lusaka City Council planning to ask them as to when were they plan to upgrade the feeder road done.
According to Mr. Chanda, the cost for the roads and the contractor are unknown, further stating that this is tantamount to corruption, which the UPND administration has been speaking against.
Now, we have seen all the way the tarmac has been done respecting people's properties, but here where we are standing, a Lusaka businessman, after seeing the interview that we did with various media on that particular day, queried to say they've entered into this land. They've left the main feeder road that was there here in New Kasama a long time ago. That main feeder road, as you can see there, has been left behind, and they've encroached into the land en route to break the offense. So we call upon the RDA to desist from being malicious on people's properties. As you can see, they broke all the pillars that he had put without even asking. They've entered into his land. This is a legally owned land which is on title. So my call to the RDA is that we have written a letter to you and we're expecting the answers.
Patrick Soko, Camnet News. Well, there you have it. Those are the two stories we are looking at before. I explained earlier a story pertaining to Mr. Yamba and the court process, and the former Minister of Foreign Affairs, who was commonly known as Bonanza, Mr. Joe Malanji. Interesting story there. And also we looked at a story pertaining to the land, the issue of roads and land encroachment there by the RDA. You know, that's a story where Mr. Peter Chanda, the new Congress Party president, is been coming out strongly, justifying and also questioning why the RDA had to leave out the old road and also resort to encroaching a private property. And he was also questioning the contractor and the total cost of the roads. Because there are no signages to indicate, say, you know, each road project has a signage of the contractor. Yeah. They do that right up. But they say, no, all that thing is not being indicated now. Is it the case of direct bidding? Is it a case of now awarding contracts to friends and personal close associates, like was the case in the previous administration? You know, we saw these cases where one single contractor would be constructing roads everywhere, and that raised a lot of questions to say, but how do you settle for this one single contractor for most of the road projects? What is the interest? Those things used to come. So now Mr. Chanda is trying to question that. Mr. Chanda has been was vocal under the previous administration, but vocal for supporting the previous administration. If you remember him very well, he was among those who had endorsed the former president, and you know. And that story, if you look, they are talking about a close associate of the former president. You know, so him coming to justify there. It tells you that equally he is interested. Sure. He's an interested party. Now, with now for us as the media, our interest would be on the legalities of anything, or probably the justifications for the undertaken by the Road Development Agency (RDA), why they opted to avoid that other small feeder road and just create a new path, and also while creating a new path also. Also affect private property there. So those are things they can tell us, but they know better. The engineers probably recommended to say the road to be better fitted in this way. Now those justifications have to be made. They are public because that's a public road altogether. Cozy.
So two things, as you have said it. Firstly, a project must have a billboard that shows to say, no, this is a project under the Ministry of Health, this is a project under the Ministry of Works and Supply, and the contractor is so and so, the scope of work, this is 25 kilometers of township roads and stuff like that. So the other thing is that I'm happy that President Chanda has written to RDA. Now this means that RDA have been given an opportunity to explain, firstly, who is this contractor and how was this contractor picked? Was it a headhunt? And also, why demolishing, why encroaching on somebody's property? Are they encroaching on somebody's property, or did this somebody get into the road reserve as they were putting up their structures? So it gives an opportunity to the RDA to explain all these things, these allegations that are coming up by the new Congress Party president. I think that we should begin to wait for the response from the RDA to clear out. I mean, this is public information. There's no secret about this. Those are projects that you don't need to hide anything about.
No.
The RDA should respond and give not only Mr. Chanda but everybody else,
the nation. Yes.
Yeah, we are all interested now about the information about this particular project.
Because you know that would also serve as a precedent, like to say, how did you manage to start financing those roads? And why are you not financing the same roads in Chawama or the feeder roads? Why are you not attending to them?
And where
people
is the money
yes,
coming?
and where is the
Is
money
it
coming from?
CDF?
Is it under CDF? Is it under the national budget? Under the national budget, I wouldn't recall that. But we have to understand that.
I don't think...
Is it supplementary? We not to understand.
Is
it like a private stakeholder coming on board to say, let me finance the construction of these roads? It is interesting to know.
Sure. So you clear out also. You as RD, you just go to Mr. Chan and said, go to page so of the budget to show you this project. That's it.
That's all. That's all. Then you would have erased unnecessary suspicions and unnecessary acrimony, unnecessary comments. You know, you put the matter to bed. I think for me also, there's lack of proactivity on the part of the Road Development Agency. Me, as I think I've gained a little bit of experience working with the Road Development Agency before. I know that. Before every road, they used to even have quarterly press conferences. And they used to update us on the
Chiwala.
Yes, Engineer Chiwala.
Yes.
They would give us updates of what they are doing.
When did you attend the briefing at RD?
The only time I attended that, it is once under the UPND administration when Engineer Charles Mirupi, who is also the Minister of Housing and Infrastructure, was clarifying an issue pertaining to an investor wanted to invest in parts of Southern Province. There they wanted to develop the area, then the government pays them later. That's the project which I recall in the minister was clarifying. But other than that, we do not see RDA being as proactive as it was in the past. I know under Madam Lois Saili, they used to be proactive as well in terms of holding press conferences and engaging the public to say, this is the road that we are working on. What is the status in terms of the roads that have been awarded? What are the contractors? In terms of monitoring the works, they used to give us those updates, but they don't do that. And when you do not do that as a government institution, you leave room for speculation, and these speculations can be bad for your image as an institution, because sometimes these things that the people may be accusing you of may not be factual in any way. So how do you clear such things? So for me, I look at those issues as the ones that need urgent attention, especially from the powers that be, because if they are proactively engaging and updating the nation on such issues, there will be no need for anyone to raise alarm. People will be informed. They'll be in the loop of what is happening. Yeah. So, our dear viewers, you are watching the Camnet Breakfast Show, Wednesday edition, Governance, Policy and Politics, with me, Patrick Soko, and Makoko Akozi, and we've been zooming in some of the stories that are making the headlines, and we hope you can continue interacting with us on our social media platforms, as well as those who are able to call us. You can do so that we get the conversations going this morning. Now, let me also look at one of the other stories where a leader of the opposition in Parliament, Brian Mundubile, has accused the government of coming up with policies meant to collapse the agriculture sector, citing the move by the Food Reserve Agency not to buy soybeans from farmers. Mr. Mundubile says the United Party for National Development Administration, in its own pronouncement, mentioned that they intended to diversify the agriculture sector because most of the farming activities were revolving around maize production. And Mr. Mundubile therefore wondered why the policies are not corresponding with government pronouncements. So let's get to look at that story. We'll be back on the other side.
The sudden changes in policy within government to actually collapse the already struggling agricultural sector. We were hoping that now that the UPND clearly failed on the input distribution, they will try to revive the agricultural sector by improving on the marketing of the crop. So we find that on both sides of the value chain, they collapse the distribution of inputs, They are now collapsing even the marketing side of the value chain. This is very unfortunate, and I really would want to know. I would like to get into the mind of the agriculture minister and the president to try and discern from their wisdom where they want to take the agriculture sector.
Let's quickly get into another story that is making the headlines this morning, and this one comes from Kampasa, where the Kampasa community representatives have vowed to take on Minister of Lands and Natural Resources Elijah Muchima over the land saga involving them and Galunya farms. Now, earlier this week, the land minister insisted that he will not condone United Party for National Development UPND cadres to be administering land illegality. Now, this is in a matter where some Kampasa community members in Chongwe district have been implicating area member of parliament Sylvia Masebo of working with Galunya farms to disadvantage them. Now, Kampasa community members in a walk-in interview with Camnet TV News say the land in question belongs to the government, hence they opted to take it over in the wake of the population increase in the area. Let's have a look at this report.
Land administration in Zambia has remained among major challenges the country has been grappling with. The story of Kampasa is one that continues to take turns and twists as the residents and the purported United Party for National Development UPND sympathizers, Galunya Farms and Chongwe area member of parliament Sylvia Masebo are at the center of the land controversy. On Sunday, 4th June 2023, Minister of Lands and Natural Resources Elijah Muchima vowed not to entertain purported UPND cadres to be allocating and selling the said land with impunity, like was the case under the Patriotic Front administration.
Land. I've seen it. It's here. You can come and verify the information. What we don't want is, with arrogance, impunity, to start that theft. Because we are in power. No. We are in power because of you people. You need to protect everyone. We got 2.8 million. Those votes didn't come only from the party. It came from the persuading majority of the people who are open to us.
But this statement does not sit well with the land claimants who have vowed to take on the minister.
We are talking about Minu Dundeke. So where people were staying is a remainder of Farm 33A, which was a government land. But why you minister, you are saying no, that land is for Galun, without even getting more information from us. So we are asking, we are challenging you as a minister. If you are not capable in that office, it's better you move out, then other people that can come and control that ministry. Because there are a lot of things which is happening in that Ministry of Lands. So, sir, we are appealing to you, Muchima. Don't address us as cadres. Because you are trying to blackmail in the name but that we are cadres. So, to silence us, to think the president, to think that no, those are cadres who are doing that. That is wrong. We are community people from Kampasa. And if you are saying cadres, ushema cadres wana chokela kumamba. Bankara pants.
They say the minister should have called both parties to explain their case.
Then ma subdivision anapanga in the same land ya manager amena claim at land yanga. In which title? Ma entries yalikuti. At pass ma entries to say ma entries niya. Wala. So kulibe. Tinaenda kukanso kulibe. Tinaenda ku Ministry of Land kulinga tuwakamba the same ministry yatwise. No. Then if ngatubakangiwa kusebenza, let bachokemo because as a minister ukangiwa kusacrifice pa paperwork. But bantu community amena kwamba makadas bakutandizira even kusacrifice. Because even baitana meeting taleta mapepa. Even president lelo aita declare to say itanani wa Kampasa balete ma specialist. Not even wa Ministry of Land, ma specialist wenangu because bakaleta ku Ministry of Land. Baza waita intimidate sawaza karondorola because ni civil servant. So chametifuna tifuna chilungamo wafuna cheba nyonge landi jalieni badieveka chabe ndeva ne wafuna.
Patrick Soko, Camnet News. Okay, there you have it. That's a story pertaining to Kampasa residents there. It has been also topical in that they have continued to go back and forth. You know, it's an interesting story pertaining to those in Kampasa. You know, they're saying that the minister was saying that most of those people are UPND cadres. And what they did is that they just say, no, this land is not being owned by Garunya Farms, so let's share it because the land that was originally given to us is no longer adequate to accommodate every one of us. So then they took over that land, and now the story is that the land belongs to Garunya Farms. Now the minister of health, also who is also Chongwe member of parliament, is being accused of working with Garunya Farms by those people, saying no, the minister is supporting the Garunya Farms because she has an interest. But these are claims the minister has refused on several occasions. And we've also seen that there are various camps. Others have also come to say, no. Actually, the member of parliament means well for this land. Others like them have come out to say, no, the member of parliament does not mean well for this community. So you see, it gets to that confusion. But my thinking is that why can't they reach a consensus? Because at the end of the day, the member of parliament there is their representative. Why can't they reason together and be able to find an amicable solution to this problem? And also, if it is Garunya Farms, and the minister also during the weekend, the press conference, did indicate that his office is open for discussion and anything pertaining to land, so that they resolve these land irregularities in the country. So quite interesting issues there coming from Kampasa. We have continued time and again. They keep on. It was quiet for a while now, but they are back again talking about these same issues. You know, at the same area, we have seen police have gone there before and say, no, stop. This is an illegality. Again, it is quiet again. Those people are back again. The area member of parliament, not the area member of parliament, the owner of the farm says that it is Garunya Farms and everything. All that confusion has been there now. But how do we resolve these issues amicably? And you know, land administration, for me, I think, why didn't the council just Chongwe Municipal Council came there on board and just help resolve issues professionally, as opposed to letting individuals or people doing that on their own as well?
One thing that is cardinal is, I think there is need for the stakeholders to sit down. Let the Chongwe Municipal Council, is it a municipal council? Let the area member of parliament, let Garunya Farms and the residents sit down and say, look, do not claim this is government land. This is Garunya Farms. Here's documentation showing that this is Garunya Farms land. Or do not tell us this is Garunya Farms. We know this is government land. Here's documentation to show that this is government land. And the council should have documentation to show who really owns that particular piece of land. Let's say, for instance, this is Garunya Farms. You sit down with Garunya. Say, look, these are Zambian. Whether they are cadres or not cadres, but they are Zambian.
Yes, they are Zambian.
They need to stay, to find land somewhere. Would you kindly help us by cutting off this piece of land and selling it to these particular people, because they don't have anywhere to go? Because this issue of Kampasa has not started today.
No.
Now. So I think we need to find a lasting solution. This war of words and this one says this one says this will not solve this problem. They need to sit down. Minister, area member of parliament, council, and the people in Kampasa should sit down and prove. These should prove that this is government land. The people should prove that this, as they are claiming, this is government land. Garunya should prove that no, this is our farm. And then council also should bring documents to show that no, this is government land or this is Garunya Farms land. And then from that point, when you identify who owns that particular land, then you can move. by saying, okay, the owners of this land is Kalunya, or the owners is government. So what we are going to do, since you people are already here, let's try and engage government. And since government will be there by way of minister, they can sort it out and say, no, this land, as government, we want to put a hospital, a modern hospital. So you can't still stay here, even if it's government land. So move away, go elsewhere. Because this land is earmarked for this particular project. Or if it's Galonia Farms, Galonia, are you willing to let go of this piece of land? No, we are not willing. We want to put a fish pond there. So these people should go. Or yes, if that's the case, we can give that land, half of that land, to the people that are there, and we can see the other half. We want to use it as well. So let's meet halfway.
So there should be a compromise.
Yes, there should be where this issue of the minister gives his statement from his office, and the people from Kampasa in Kampasa also give a statement. Minister also from MP also from her office issues a statement. It will take a lot of time for this issue to be sorted out. Dialogue is very, very important in this matter.
You are right. Dialogue is very important to put the matter to bed. Now, there was an interesting story that we looked at. That's the story pertaining to Madam Gertrude Imenda. Now, I want us to look at the original story on how the Anti-Corruption Commission reacted to this story when it came out over the questioning over how the 65 million was utilized. So let's get to listen to that story where the Anti-Corruption Commission chairperson, Musa Mwenye, was actually shedding a light on this issue pertaining to the money that was seized and forfeited to the state, and how it was utilized has raised a lot of questions. So let's get to zoom in this story. We'll be back.
The Anti-Corruption Commission, Zambia's corruption investigative wing, has now been implicated in being involved in misappropriating 65 million kwacha forfeited funds from Faith Musonda in 2021. In a leaked document alleged to have been written by the Auditor General's office, the said 65 million kwacha never hit the Ministry of Finance Control 99 despite SEC at a meeting in February of 2022 indicating that it had given the money to the Ministry of Finance. SEC board chairperson Musa Mwenye, who addressed the media Monday morning, has however denied ever seeing 65 million kwacha in his eyes and could not have misappropriated resources he has never seen.
Never seen 65 million in my life. So I can tell you that that money was handed over. We support the work of the Auditor General, and we would not want to see a day when that important institution will be deployed to fight personal legal battles of any of its officers. Ladies and gentlemen, please bear with us. We will not address the document that is circulating on social media in its details, but suffice to say that it contains a lot of inaccuracies and details that appear tailored to deliberately embarrass the Anti-Corruption Commission.
Mr. Mwenya, however, says the 65 million kwacha was handed over to the Ministry of Finance in March last year and has questioned the authenticity of the said letter, considering the fact that it never reached his office.
All of you members of the press attended a media briefing and a handover ceremony on the 23rd of February 2022, at which the Anti-Corruption Commission handed over a check for the sum of 65,333,046 kwacha to the Honorable Minister of Finance.
Meanwhile, the Ministry of Finance, when contacted, says it issued an instruction to the Anti-Corruption Commission on 25th February 2022 in which SEC was requested to transfer the said funds to Control 99 at the Bank of Zambia for the Zambian kwacha deposits and the United States dollar deposits. The ministry says the SEC transferred the funds on 3rd March 2022, which was subsequently given to the Higher Education Loans and Scholarship Board through the Ministry of Education in equal amounts between March 2022 and December 2023 to Qatar for 2,780 students. Prince Jota reporting for Camnet TV News.
We feel it was going to be far much better if the Anti-Corruption Commission had responded to the allegations that the 65 million kwacha confiscated from Faith Musonda has gone missing by availing documented evidence to the members of the public through the media concerning how that money was transferred from ACC to Ministry of Finance, and from Ministry of Finance to Ministry of Education and up to the beneficiaries. There must be documented evidence showing how this money moved from all the people who were involved in up to the disbursement of the funds to the students. Unlike a situation where the commission has just said money was transferred, yes, it may be convincing to some people, but others will dispute that fact still.
Water is life. Each drop counts and each must be cherished. Our tried and tested product meets all international standards. With our smart drip technology, we aim to deliver precision irrigation designed to reduce blockage and wastage, ensuring a high yield. Renglow, your smart irrigation partner.
Good morning, you are still watching the Camnet Breakfast Show with me, Patrick Soko, and my co-host, Makokwa Kozi. And we're zooming in some of the stories making the headlines. And we did recall an interesting story pertaining to the fight against corruption. However, this is a story where there are people who have been questioning the whereabouts over the 65 million which was forfeited to the state. This is the money which Faith Musonda had. And now, in studio, we'll be joined by our guest who is the Third Liberation Movement President, Mr. Enoch Katonga, to help us discuss our topic of discussion, alternative policies to the UPND administration. President Ichilema, during his address area, he did indicate and say, bring it on. What are you bringing on the table? Because we feel we are implementing effective policies now. That is according to President Ichilema. Now, Mr. Tonga, welcome to the program. Good morning.
Thank you very much, and good morning. How are you?
Thank you. We appreciate that you could manage to make it to the program. And to just also get started with our conversation, we'll start on the journey to corruption. Do you have alternative policies to the UPND because they feel they are putting in place the right measures?
First of all, we remain grateful for the opportunity given to us as Camnet Television. Of course, it's not an easy environment we are living in as media, as a people. We know what's going on. Getting to your concern quickly, my brother, first of all, let's agree on one most important thing, and that issue is that when you begin to look at the alternatives or what you think you are offering to the people who are in public office.
Yes.
You need to look at who are these people that are in public office. Are these individuals fit to be checked? Are they the right people to be given, options that they can follow? Now, looking at what we have in the Republic of Zambia, they aren't, because they don't believe in being checked. However, the best interest of the Republic of Zambia, the people out there, will still emphasize and be able to bring this to the table so that the people of Zambia weigh what we stand for, what we believe in, and what others in public office are doing. Very simple, straightforward, to the point. Hakainde Hichilema and the team don't believe in the fight against corruption. It's as simple as that. Do we have an alternative? Yes. And this stands out, of which it has always been a challenge to media, Hichilema, the people of Zambia as well. But on the table within the parliament stands out an unbearable on corruption, which petition, now adopted motion in parliament, was taken by I and the Third Liberation Movement before the parliament. And that was before the team that is now running the show formed government. I do recall very well was in parliament, Gary Nkombo on the floor of the house debating, the same motion when it was about to be adopted. What am I saying? Summary is that we have given one Hakainde Hichilema and the UPND the best solution to fight against corruption. And the solution is to enact an unbearable corruption. And this is very simple. This law will pick Mr. Tonga, this law will pick Mr. Hichilema, this law will pick whoever you can think about. Once you are picked, you are behind bars until your case is disposed of. But look, you cannot fight corruption using corruption. What I mean by that is that the team we have in the public office has so much to explain about themselves when it comes to issues of corruption. It is very evident, it's very clear that so much is going around. And no one wants to adopt that particular option or law we put in place. We have said that once the non-bearable corruption is enacted, we want to see to it that when you are found guilty, a punishment is attached to it. There's death penalty, there's life imprisonment, there's 50 years and above jail sentences. But you see, people prepare their future. One day, Hakainde Hichilema and the team know they will be out of public office. So when this law is in place, they'll be the first people to pay the price. Therefore, they wouldn't want to adopt or have this law enacted. Again, politics. They will say, if we do this because it was taken to parliament by Enoch Tonga and the Third Liberation Movement, once we do that, we'll have put this name on top there. So at the end of the day, individuals whose interest is theirs, not for the people, they will not embrace what is correct.
You did bring out two critical issues in your remarks. You did say that the current government does not seem to be interested in fighting corruption, if I heard you right.
Yes.
And you have also said that you can't fight corruption using corruption. And you say the current people in administration have a lot to explain themselves. What makes you make these statements?
It's very simple, my brother, very basic. I'm just from following you 65 million kwacha. The Faith Musonda Anti-Corruption Commission, the Auditor General's saga going around all this issue. Come on. Do we need to be debating these matters? Where the state collects, we told the man has been gotten from the whoever could have Faith Musonda, and the next thing you hear is the money hasn't been submitted or probably has disappeared. Then there are all these explanations. Do you need me to clarify anything of that kind? The answer is totally no. Since when Hakainde Hichilema formed government, that is last 2021, tell me who has been convicted today of corruption. They've been picking this, picking that one. In the picking of these individuals, they're spending taxpayers' money, arresting so-called ministers or whoever were there. Nobody has been jailed so far. It's all stories. You've heard the issues of Fertilizer saga. You've heard ministers moving with briefcase all over, and Hichilema has got his own explanations. I mean, I've told you about the same petition on the table of parliament, which is not being enacted. And mark my words, Hichilema has been in public office. Did you hear him any single day emphasizing or talking about this non-bearable corruption, or either saying, no, we cannot enact this law simply because we don't believe in it. Because he doesn't want to mention it. You jump. He's been in parliament many times.
Yeah, and this administration has gone ahead to remove the death penalty in the Zambian statutes.
Beautiful.
Do you support such a move as a political party?
No, we don't.
But
Again,
why?
that is, you're basically helping what I'm trying to say. How do you do away with the death penalty amid this particular environment? Before, again, talk about no medicine hospitals where people are dying because of lack of these essential drugs. Dying simply because somebody would have pocketed the money through corruption. You have seen people being maimed, killed, young people, by probably individuals. They may not be politicians. But amidst all those crimes, are you right by removing the death penalty? The answer is no. Politicians in the Republic of Zambia, I always talk about this matter to say that we are about 20 million or 19, 20 million people. But bring it closer, how many individuals in this nation have got money or resources or wealthy, who are living well? Very few. Now, the majority of Zambians are struggling. What it simply means is this, that not Zambia is poor, no, but because people are greedy. Money disappears in politicians' pockets. So now, in these claims or so-called leadership, they're giving the people of Zambia, they are stealing public resources and killing the people in that way. So then, when somebody is found guilty, for example, corruption, how do you let that person go? So Hichilema is preparing his future. I'm not saying he's going to be killed tomorrow by ourselves, but look, they know where they're heading to. So the point here is that, yes, the death penalty was removed. Wrong. Look, this is temporary because it's man done it. We come into power, we are bringing it back. And what we'll do is that it shall be under the people's decision. That is what we call referendum, where nobody can come up and then decide. They gather themselves at State House, enjoy drinking tea, coffee, cappuccino, celebrating the removal of the death penalty, simply because it's so simple law. For us, when we come in place, we will be able to use the people of Zambia. So that if you want to change that law, then go back to the people of Zambia. So we are bringing the death penalty back into the laws of Zambia.
What is the alternative policy that the State Liberation Movement is offering to the argument that government has no business doing business, and even the mines and everything should be run by foreign investors? What do you have a perspective on that subject?
Government's responsibility is to create a neighboring environment within which the private sector runs the business. It is not the job, the mandate of people in public office running business. It's simple as all that. Sadly, as I mentioned earlier on, that let's agree on one major, most important base where we are starting from. We are discussing individuals who are businessmen, including Hakainde SHM. So then already we are stuck as a nation. Because you have a leader in public office who is a businessman. So he has got a double interest. He wants to run his own businesses. He wants to run the Republic of Zambia. So decisions being made by Hakainde Hichilema will have some interest, some kind. You not tell you, but he knows what he's doing. So what I'm saying here is that the people of Zambia, first of all, made a mistake. You may not believe, you may not buy into that, but that's the truth. By putting this business-oriented individual as your leader, then you have a problem. So whatever decision being made, you'll find that today they'll tell you, no, you go and buy a bag of maize, 250 plus whatever it is. Then they tell you, no, we're not buying soya beans. These are decisions being made. They'll tell you, no, let's export maize outside the Republic of Zambia. Later on, an environment is created. Later, you want to bring in, minimum from outside the Republic of Zambia. So a decision being made will be of interest to the businessman, the mines. Mines remains the bedroom of the Republic of Zambia. I've always emphasized this kind of a thing. And mines mustn't be left, to be run by people that are not interested to build the Republic of Zambia. So what we need to do is that these mines were sold at a song. We get them back to ourselves as a nation. Don't run them as a government. Identify indigenous Zambian companies. Bring Zambians together. Give them 15, 20 years concession. Zambians run the mines as private institutions, not government. So you don't give the mines to your friends. You don't give the mines to the abusers. The Chinese, the foreign, the Asian origin individuals. So identify the people of Zambia. Once the mines have been taken back, then give these mines to the private sector run by the Zambians.
There is an argument that we can't, as a country, manage. We do not have the capacity. We do not have business people that can run the mines at that particular level. What do you make of such
a statement? Wonderful. It's an insult to the people of Zambia. It's as simple as all that. We are not a nation that was born yesterday. So when you say we cannot, we do not have the capacity, that is totally a big insult to the people of Zambia, because we have got, mind you, the Republic of Zambia is not made up by the only black-skinned Mr. Tonga. No, Zambia means those who are not citizens and those who are citizens. Now we talk about Zambian citizens, you're talking about Chinese, with the whites, of Asian origin, Americans, those who come from America. So Zambia is comprised of all these individuals, all this blood, all these brains who are in here, big brains in the Republic of Zambia. So we have the capacity. The capacity is the human resource, the brains that we've got. Those are the people that need to be given the ability, the environment, supported by the government, and they can move to deliver the services in the best interest of people of Zambia. Additionally, if you advance your investment more in the people that are coming from outside, their interest is to take money outside of the Republic of Zambia. Look at this. We've got a lot of foreigners in here because the laws of immigration aren't very good. I think you remember during the elections 2021, we were advancing the what we call foreigners expulsion policy, where we said we shall identify people, then we'll be able to do away with them as foreigners. Now, if you have so many foreigners coming in the Republic of Zambia, let me give you a basic example. For example, someone from Rwanda. Okay, you have got 1, 2, 3, 4 twin timbers in these compounds. These individuals, when they sell, every month they'll get maybe $1, taking it to their relatives where they come from. Another shop takes $1 to his own relatives wherever he comes from. By the end of the day, you have got $10, $15. That money has gone out of the Republic of Zambia. It will not come back here. So the economy cannot develop. So you need to look at individuals that are going to build within here in the Republic of Zambia. You know that you go and build from there within the Republic of Zambia. So you accommodate this money within in here. That is just an example. There's so much money being taken out of the Republic of Zambia, not coming back, and the economy cannot grow. Money means money. Money can be put in this particular cup there. If it's 10 kwacha, you take out 1 kwacha, there's 9 kwacha in there. So it's the same as economy. Economy is made up of a certain amount of money or figure that when taken out part of it, then it's not returning back. It means you are going to shrink over and again. So when you come up with policies as government, you must ensure that you protect this money, you protect this economy so that it builds up within itself. That's the way you approach matters.
There's another argument that is going around, the issue of mining in the Lower Zambezi.
Yes.
As a party, what is your stance?
Very interesting. Lower Zambezi is where animals are. Lower Zambezi is like any other national park or game management area you can think about the Republic of Zambia. Remember that we were once colonized by the British, and Zambia is marked. What I mean here is that the white man was too clever, how to handle the black skin. And we've got to be very careful. Again, look at the leader of God, whose interest is each of them are championing. People's, Zambian people, or maybe outsiders. Zambians can judge. But I want to address your concern. Whether Lower Zambezi or anyone else, as far as we're concerned as state liberation movement, if there are minerals or resources that we need to build our economy, I think I would advise you that we go there as long as these minerals benefit the people of Zambia. What we know is that most of these game management areas, this is where the wealth of Zambia has been hidden. In the name of we are keeping animals there. We're not saying we don't need animals. No, we need them. But you know that we can shift animals to some other areas. The point I'm trying you to understand and pick up here is that we must quiz and question these talks more of, oh, here it's a protected land. Why is it protected? What is in there? Zambians must know. So why were animals put in that particular environment and then put this fencing? I'm not saying kill the animals, no. But the idea here is that the lower Zambezi, yes, you may talk about water, but the concern here is that they will tell you more is animals. Human beings are more important than animals. So first of all, we must consider the lives of our people, the Republic of Zambia. And the lives of our people means that animals mustn't take over the importance of humanity, in our living society, because God gave us these animals to manage them. So if it means mining there, as long as what we mine there benefits the people of Zambia, don't mine and fly take it out of the people of Zambia, the nation to elsewhere. We mine, it benefits the people of Zambia. Animals can be shifted anywhere else. Do you get what I'm trying to say? So what I'm saying is that these game management areas, there's a lot that has been hidden in these areas. The Zambians must take interest. Sadly, I have no confidence in the leadership of Hakainde Hichilema and the team. They may not do anything else that is going to benefit the people of Zambia. We've had the issues of sugilite, the mines themselves, many other minerals. Who is mining? Zambians continue to suffer worse. Themselves are sharing the resources. My emphasis here is that whether it's in the game management area, is in the national park, as long as this wealth benefits Zambians, we must use it for them to build their own lives.
Now, we are talking about benefiting Zambians. What have the mines on the copper belt done for Zambians? For example, in terms of development, we are seeing a lot of trenches on the copper belt, President Tonga. Now, and these foreign investors have gone and they have left us with trenches. You cannot even see a building that is 5 stairs up on the copper belt when you talk about 58 years after independence. But how do we make sure that we do things differently? Because at the end of the day, we are just degenerating our environment. If you look at those, also we have seen that, for example, lead mining in Kabwe has only left us with diseases, and we have now received cases of manganese poisoning. It is a strange disease now, which is affecting our people because they are mining everywhere. There's water contamination everywhere. But how? And at the end of the day, our health systems are choking with the ability to deal with these critical diseases, Mr. Tonga. But how do we do things sustainably?
It's a big challenge. In what sense? Look, this Zambia was born way back before 1964. And as a society, we have work to do. Today, I would state that we've got a leader in public office, who's one Hakainde Hichilema, who, in as far as we are concerned as an institution, strongly believe that he is invalid morally. If we were to make a decision, us would have disqualified him to be the head of state. I'll explain to come to your concern. Zambia is a Christian nation. This platform, or this institution or media is being run by a church. When Hakainde Hichilema formed the government, the first casualty was the Ministry of Religious Affairs. They had their own explanations. All the way to where we are today, we've engulfed ourselves in discussions of homosexuality. Many other issues. Hakainde Hichilema, as far as we are concerned, stands out on the platform of a liar. And this is the environment within which we are living in. Now, even if I speak, you have Zambians, the people of Zambia, who strongly believe in him that this is the right person to sit in public office. So then, where do you go to as a nation? So until we begin to question ourselves, realize who should govern us. Mr. Tonga said here, was one of the 16 candidates. We don't know what is in people's minds and what could have enabled them to go and choose this particular leader. So from 1964 by the presidents, Hichilema inclusive, Zambians have been making decisions. At the end of the day, it brings us to the point where you're asking me, how about the mines, trenches? It is because of these leaders we've had, whose interest is about themselves. So they end up bringing these investors, end up watching wrong things being done. So until we realize as a people and change our approach in doing things, identifying who becomes our president, then things will change. Or else you and me and him waste our time here complaining to the world that these are the problems and achieve literally nothing. So I'm trying to say that whoever is following there, whoever is listening there must be saying, what can we do? We are liberation struggle as an institution, as a movement. We've stood on our ground, believing what is correct, to ensure that people of Zambia can work with us so that we can correct the situation. Until the people of Zambia stands up and work with us, we will be able to do the correct thing. We mean well. So the mines, whoever has invested in there, could have been given conditions. If they can't do the correct thing, I mean, they must move out. I'm a miner, Mufrila in particular, Mopani. We know what's in there. Go to Kankoyo. Kankoyo is in tatters. There's only Ulusonga there. People are dying because of these fumes being released from the mines. Who cares? Nobody. You're talking about Kampasa right here when I was listening. Kampasa issue started was the PF-formed government. I remember people being shot at, killed in their own nation. Have you had any genuine leadership? Are you telling that Dhaka in the HTM is not aware about these issues? Do you need to, I heard Makokwa's analysis where I say, no, you need to sit down. Do you need to sit down and people being killed and suffer in their own land? Who are those people that are fighting for Kampasa? Are those not Zambians? Also, Hakainde Hichilema is enjoying his cappuccino in his so-called, Sianda there, community house, and comfortable to go and stay at State House. Zambians are struggling. Those are serious matters. What has he done? You don't need to discuss them as media. What am I saying? You've had leaders over and again to where we are today who save their own stomachs. It ends there. So it is up to you, me, him, Zambians out there to say, there's Mr. Tonga. There's the liberation movement. Can we move together? That's why I said by beginning to say thank you very much for the opportunity. Because today, as far as I'm concerned, media has totally been killed in the Republic of Zambia. How? I saw one of the proprietors or CEO being thrown outside the Republic of Zambia with the vice president. Tomorrow, Mr. Soko, let me talk about Pastor Chiruba here. If he's thrown by Hakainde Hichilema to go and cover his meetings in UK, do you think Camnet TV will be independent? It can't be. You're a private media. This is the environment where we are. We know people are being oiled around. You say, what's happening? Mr. Tonga is here crying here on Camnet TV in the morning. Thank God we've been given an opportunity. You will not see us, getting things done in other platforms. ZNBC has got a platform. Other media institutions have got platforms. But they're calling their own who they think can do the correct thing. Today we are talking about the issue of the church, quickly. The church now is saying, no, they are fighting, dragging one another. Ask me, what was the church doing when people were voting? Were we given a spiritual direction to say, as a church, God is saying this? It's the same church which was working with Hakainde Hichilema. Today now, they are fighting the church and Hakainde Hichilema. Look, we cannot go anywhere as a nation. So we have so much to do. My call to you is this, that actually I came here a bit late, is that if you can give us an opportunity, that's my request, that we can bring down these things to the people of Zambia. The answer is there. We're in existence. God is done with everything. It's just a matter of giving the people of Zambia what is correct. Hakainde could have been allowed for a purpose so that people of Zambia can compare now where we are coming from and where we are heading to. Today, going ahead, there's a leader in the Republic of Zambia. That is myself and the Third Liberation Movement.
Thank you very much, Mr. Tonga, for making it to the program and giving us your perspective. And as we always say here on Camnet TV, every view accounts and opinions are respected, because we believe that democracy is about tolerating the views you do not like from someone you might not like. Hence, everyone's opinion counts. Mr. Kozi.
As we come to the end of the program, I would like to thank you very much for having been with us. And remember that you can also catch us again next week at the same time as we bring to you nothing but the best of what is happening around us. Remember that you can participate on this program way of calling us on the numbers that are on your screens, and also going to our Facebook page and leaving your comments there. And also remember that you can catch us on DSTV channel 274, GoTV channel 25, and also Topstar on channel 106. Patrick.
Interesting. So this is where we have to excuse the screen. Until tomorrow when we come again with another interesting episode of the Camnet Breakfast Show, Governance, Policy and Politics. This has been Patrick Soko and Makwakozi. Keep it on Camnet TV. Remember, Camnet TV is not just another channel.